Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon. I love Tuesdays so much. They are one of my favorite days of the week. I always joke with my accountability squad, my pod, that I love Mondays because I get to see them, but I love Tuesdays because I get to engage and talk to all of you. So welcome today to the Veg Inspired Live. What you can expect is each Tuesday I go live in the Veg Inspired Foodies Facebook group. So if you are catching this on YouTube and want to be sure you don't miss any of our upcoming live shows, you can visit the link below and join the Veg Inspired Foodies Facebook group. Easy to find, veginspired.com/foodies. Each week I come in and I talk all things plant-based living. So whether you're an herbivore, omnivore, or carnivore, there will always be tips and tricks to help you get more plants on your plate. So I did see that Donna's here and Joe is here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know if you are here, and I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Last week, I told you we were in the tiny little town of Panguitch, Utah, and I'm pretty sure the town we're in now has that other town beat on tiny. I don't even think I saw a traffic light here. We are in Loa, Utah. We are about 10 minutes outside of Capitol Reef National Park. This will be our third national park in Utah of the 5 national parks. We will actually miss the 2 on the other side, Canyonlands and Arches. They will have to be for our next trip to Utah because next week we head north toward Wyoming and Idaho to start our trek up into Montana for Glacier. So if you don't know, I am a real person. I travel full-time in a 5th-wheel RV with my husband, John, and my 3 cats. So don't be surprised if you hear noises or see a cattail walk by because they love to be the center of attention and right here in my little desk space. I really want this to be very, very interactive. I'm going to talk for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, give you some really good tips on eating plant-based. But if you have a specific travel or specific question regarding travel or restaurants, drop that in the comments. Let me answer your questions and really get into things that can help you. So again, let me know you're here. Hey, Cherie, so excited that you're tuning in from the Bahamas. That's amazing. So excited. So I am Kathy Davis, your host. I'm a plant-based lifestyle coach, author of the 30-Minute Whole Food Plant-Based Cookbook and the Super Easy Plant-Based Cookbook, and the CEO of Veg Inspired. I help people transition to a plant-based diet that supports their fast-paced lifestyles without requiring hours in the kitchen or the stress of what am I going to eat, right? I have actually been eating and creating vegan meals for over 7 years and cleaned up my own daily habits to follow a whole food plant-based way of eating 1.5 years ago to increase my energy, take control over my health, and shed some extra weight. I also, if you are here, want to invite you to register for our upcoming free 5-day workshop. It's the Eat More Plants workshop. It starts June 21st, 7 p.m. Eastern. There will be replays available for those registered. This workshop will help you really gain clarity around plant-based eating and how to stick to it with easy and practical tips. You can register for that at veginspired.com. Eat more plants. And I think you saw the ticker go through, but I'll also put a comment in the comments of this video once the video ends. So first thing first, I want to tell you that traveling plant-based doesn't have to be hard, but sometimes it can really pose some interesting challenges. But with a little planning and a little prep, it can be much easier. And if you've ever heard me speak, you know my number 1 tip for success is to plan ahead. So I'm going to share with you 5 things you can do to make your plant-based lifestyle easier when you travel. Now, every situation is different. And like I said, I'm happy to walk through certain scenarios or answer your questions. So I do invite you to put those in the comments. If you are tuning in from YouTube, those will come to me via StreamYard. And if you're in Facebook, you can see that I can see your comments as well. So the number one tip I have, and again, I'm a broken record, right? Plan ahead. This is not just saying, okay, I'm going to be gone for 7 days. This is really looking at those grocery stores that are in the area. What are they going to have? Have you been to those grocery stores before? What types of foods do you want to eat? Plan your meals, right? If you plan on dining out at restaurants, look at the menus, look at the restaurants. If you aren't sure where you're going to be going, look and see if you can be the one that makes that decision, right? Sometimes when we've vacationed since going vegan 7 years ago, we eat our breakfast and lunch at home, things like oats, vegetable sandwiches, wraps, and then maybe we do dinner out a few times. So we really plan what those dinners are going to be. Now, obviously, we travel full-time in an RV, so every time we get to a new location, it's a new grocery store. We don't always know what they're going to have. And fortunately for us, since we do eat a whole food plant-based diet or whole food plant-based way of eating, we aren't really looking for any of those processed foods. We can often find tofu, vegetables. The hardest thing to find when traveling is usually bread. So we'll look for the cleanest option of bread. So if you are traveling with people, this planning also includes planning with them, talking to them about the foods that you want to make ahead of time. Maybe you do a meal plan. If they're understanding, they may want to cook for you and try out a new vegan recipe that they've been looking for, or you might suggest eating foods that you can all eat together, baked potato bars. They can throw animal-based burgers on the grill and you can have your veggie burgers prepped ahead of time. So one of the things that planning allows you to do is to prep ahead of time. So if you are like me, when we entertain people at the campsite, oftentimes we will prep veggie burgers. We'll go ahead and make up our black bean burgers from the 30-minute whole food plant-based cookbook. We will bake those and then we can easily reheat them on the grill or over an open fire. We've also prepped carrot dogs. So we're looking at, we get those carrot dogs steamed. The recipe for that is on veginspire.com. And we get those carrot dogs steamed, we get them marinating, and then when we go to cook them, we can cook them over either the open fire of a fire pit, or we can cook them on the grill, or we can even do them in a pan. So it really is about planning ahead and then preparing things that you can take with you. Other things I've been known to do is I will prep cold salads. I will prep things like farro salad, the grilled potato salad with chimichurri on veginspire.com, or the Greek pasta salad on veginspire.com. These are easy meals that you can prep ahead of time. You can take those with you. You can pack them in a cooler, and they make great lunches, or they can be shared with other people at your dinner table. Tip number 2, if you are driving, bring things like your Instant Pot or your rice cooker or your slow cooker so that you can toss rice in, as you're leaving for the beach in the morning and come back and you have rice and steamed vegetables ready for you, and you aren't falling into the temptation of going to one of those restaurants that you really aren't sure you want to eat at, that maybe don't have those oil-free options that you're looking for. Bring along, if you love smoothies, bring along your Vitamix. If you are staying in an Airbnb that has a full kitchen, maybe you bring a favorite gadget or your chef's knife. Just bring something from home that makes it easier for you to prepare and make the meals that you really enjoy. If you're staying in a hotel, being able to cook rice and steam veggies right in the rice cooker or in your Instant Pot really does help make those meals a lot easier. Something else for tip number 3, bring a small box or bag of those unique ingredients you love. Maybe it's your nutritional yeast that you buy in bulk that you don't want to have to rebuy when you get to the grocery store. Maybe it's your favorite tahini or that local salsa that you love, right? Go ahead and pack those in and then pick up the common ingredients at the local store. Obviously, like I said, since we travel, oftentimes we will stock up on items that are our favorites. So we'll stock up on things like the Ezekiel Food for Life breads and the Ezekiel Food for Life pita. That allows us to not have to settle on bread at a grocery store that may not align with our goals. And Donna, I do see your question. So we eat whole grain, mostly unprocessed. So we'll look for the cleanest option of bread. It is typically a sourdough that is baked at that grocery store or baked locally, because when most bakeries do whole wheat, they will add honey, and we are vegan first, so we choose not to eat honey. So we'll pick the cleanest bread option. Usually it's a sourdough. It is often made with white flour, but that's cleaner than if we ate something with tons of preservatives or chemicals or other things of that nature. So the sourdough that we had to pick up this week, I think had only 5 ingredients, which means we eat it pretty quick because it'll go bad otherwise. But we like to keep those foods in stock that we really, really like. And I say in stock, meaning in our pantry or in our fridge or freezer. So we don't have to settle on those foods that do not align with the way that we want to eat. Tip number 4, prep meals for your coolers or those mini fridge travel days, right? Things that can be prepped ahead of time. Also, prep ahead for travel days. You want to make sure that you can keep that temptation in check and curb those in the moment decisions when you pop into a convenience store to use the restroom. You don't want to be snagging a snack. You want to have your snacks that you are excited to eat in the vehicle that you're driving in, ready to go, so you aren't tempted by the Oreos and the Fritos, which are usually the things that I'm like, ooh, should I get a little bag of those? As I'm walking back from the restroom. So it really is about having those foods that you love accessible right there, ready to go. So I wanted to share with you some ideas that I actually prep ahead of time for our travel days. And cute little story, when John and I first hit the road, we would get up in the morning and pack up the RV, and we were newbies. And so it took a little bit longer, and we had all these things to check, and we'd leave the campgrounds around 11, and we would drive for 3 hours. That was our routine. And we would get there and it would be 3 o'clock. And guess what? By the time we got set up and in the camper, it was 4 in the afternoon and we hadn't eaten anything.